Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition of Last Bowl Boxing. Joined by regulars. Daz, good evening, Daz.
All right, lads. All right.
Sam, Ander, good evening.
Evening, fella.
And joined by Sean. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, guys.
So, quick mention, today's show is in partnership with 26ers clothing brand, as you can see on the t-shirts, and also South Bank Bar City in Nottingham. So, moving on to the first topic, I'll hand you over to Ander.
Right, so this Saturday night, Boxer have got a show in Birmingham, headlined by Joshua Buatsi, his first outing on Sky for Boxer. So we'll crack on. We'll start with the undercard. It's actually the undercard's actually better than I thought it was going to be, Carl. I was thinking we might only be talking about a couple of fights, but there's some interesting stuff on there. We'll start with Ben Whittaker. Obviously, about a year ago, Ben Whittaker got that injury. He was sat at 2-0, looking very, very good after the Olympics. He's out against Jordan Grant. Both of them haven't got big records, but obviously this is a shake the cobwebs off fight really for Whittaker, isn't it? I'll come to you first, Daz. Whittaker's one of these. He's going to be one of these fighters into it. It's going to be a bit Marmite. He shows off a little bit in the ring. He's clearly full of class.
I hope Ben Whittaker's as good as Ben Whittaker thinks he is.
Yeah.
And he could well be.
Yeah. He's clearly got the skill, but it's going to be one of them. He shows off, he showboats. Sometimes a little bit disrespectful to his opponent, and I just hope that he's learned a little bit from them first two fights because he got a little bit of bad publicity off the back of that. Some people didn't like it very much, old pros and stuff. Is
any publicity bad publicity though?
No, of course not. And I'm sure he's got broad shoulders, mate.
I think it's a very clever bit of matchmaking as well, because Grant fought Aaron McKenna in his last fight and took Aaron McKenna the distance, and McKenna's have been blowing everyone out. But I do think Matt's had a daft question, but correct me if I'm wrong. Ben Whittaker's a light heavyweight, isn't he?
He is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think Jordan Grant's campaigned at super middle.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is very clever matchmaking. Then.
So he's got the weight advantage. He's definitely got, no disrespect to Jordan, he's definitely got a skill advantage. Very clever bit of matchmaking. I think Jordan Grant's going to be getting paid well, but I think Ben Whittaker's going to stop him. And it's going to be a case of, well, McKenna couldn't stop him. I've stopped him in my third fight.
Yeah. Sean, is it fair to say we haven't seen a fighter with the style that Ben Whittaker's got since Naz?
Yeah, I've said it before, but I think it reminds me a bit of James DeGale with his arrogance as well. So I think his family in that sort of camp of fighters. And it's good to see him back after his injury.
Carl, what's your first opinions of Ben Whittaker?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a class fighter. I'm not a fan of all this pantomime villainy, to be honest. Especially when he's telling his opponent today not to talk when he is and all that lot. I just think as much as he needs to sell tickets, I think there's a line, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, I like him. I like Ben Whittaker. I do like. Having said that, I do like boxers that have got some personality, because them early days he needs to shift tickets. He's from Wolverhampton, so he needs to develop that following. Birmingham's only down the road, so. Yeah, I think this Jordan Grant will come to fight. I think he sees it as his cup final, which he probably is. So let's hope for a good fight. But I think Whittaker will outclass him and stop him, a bit like what Dad says.
It's definitely a clever move for Boxer getting him out on this card, being a local lad. It's quite a Birmingham-centric card, really.
It is. Yeah.
Moving swiftly on, then Shakan Pitters, who you can class as an old dog in the sport, really. Now he's been around quite a long while. He's going in. It's only an 8-rounder as well, which is a bit surprising. But he's going in against Joel McIntyre. Shakan's real quality, though. I'm sure you'll agree. Carl, first I come to you. Shakan's been in with a lot of heavy hitters, hasn't he?
Yeah, the thing I do like, he's got that reach, hasn't he? You know, I think he's got a few levels left in him. To be honest, I think he's still maturing as a fighter. He says all the right things. Does he live the life though? That's the question I'd ask. Does he live the life? So yeah, I think it's a good platform for him to be on. It looks like a bit of a gimme fight to me. I think he wins this fight. And let's be honest, he's in a great division, isn't he? So, the world's his lobster if he can put a few wins together.
It's an absolute stacked division in the UK. I'm not quite sure he's at the level to challenge with the big boys in the division, though, mate.
He's talking about Lyndon Arthur, isn't he?
That's not a bad fight.
Yeah.
Going on to that from what Carl's just said, Lyndon is kind of fell out of favour with the big promoters recently. I think was he on Channel 5 last time out?
Yeah, I believe we were, against fella from Scotland. Can't remember his name, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, it all looked really bright for Lyndon after he beat Anthony Hard. All looked really bright, and then I don't know, something's happened. That's it. Boris Krejcin, I believe. Thanks, Joe. I don't know. Something's happened. I mean, when he beat Anthony Hard, I would have never thought that after this time frame we'd be in this position talking about Shaq and Pitters fighting him.
Do you think it was the fashion of his defeat against Yard in the rematch, though? He got took apart a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, I think Anthony adjusted to it, and Lyndon didn't have a plan B, basically. I do think Anthony Hard's a far better fighter than people gave him credit for.
Yeah, I agree.
Far better than people. I mean, it looked spectacular. I mean, he fought one of my mates, to be fair, Darren Snow, and Snowy will tell you, he knew he weren't going to win that. He's for a payday, a late step in.
Where do you put him, Daz? Where do you put him in the domestic light heavyweight scene, then, Daz?
If I'm going to rank him, I'm going to rank Callum Smith number 1. And then I think we've got a bit of a toss-up between Yard, Boatse, and then I think, I don't know, Lyndon and Shakan. I mean, Callum Simpson's they're looking very good. But I think, is Callum Simpson a super middle? I might have got that wrong. I think Callum Simpson's a super middle, I think. But, out of the recognised ones, I think he's just below Callum Smith, personally. Probably alongside Boatse. Then you've got Lyndon Arthur. I mean, I had a mad thought that the Shakan Pitters being on the same bill as Ben Whittaker, that'll happen soon.
That's a big step up for Ben Whittaker, mate.
Yeah, I don't mean it'll happen next. But this guy, this guy that Ben Whittaker's fighting, he's been in with Tommy Fury, he's been in with Aaron McKenna, comes to win, he's an Olympic champ. Does he need holding, and he wants these sort of fights. I think a couple more fights and you may see him in with him. I won't be surprised.
It's not a bad shot, is it? Depending on how good Whittaker looks and our Shakan Pitter performance, really.
Listen, I always think that when a promoter's putting 2 fighters, same weight class, on a bill, there's always a reason. And what we'll see, I think, after the Saturday, I'm going to call it now. Don't be surprised if Ben Whittaker doesn't start calling Shakan Pitters his name.
It might have already been made.
No,
Do
don't be surprised if
Ben
Whittaker
Conventional's been on the phone to Daz this afternoon and gave him an exclusive, anti Daz.
No, mate. No, I just know what boxing's like, mate. I really do. It's as you guys do. It's you probably from where Shakan Pitters were as well. You'd think no, but listen, he had, Ben Whittaker was a very good amateur. He's had that grounding. Never say never in boxing. Never say never.
If it makes sense money-wise, it can happen, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you went off when did you hear me when you asked me where I rated the light heavyweights? Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah, to majority, but we'll take up the old show if I start picking it apart. that might be another show, to be honest.
We'll be coming on later on as well, talking about a fight that's about to get made with your number one pick, Daz. So that'll be later on after we've talked about Canelo. People listening in the sidebar, we got some good topics tonight. We'll be talking about Canelo Ryder. We'll also be talking about the purse bid with Callum Smith and Baturbia. That'll be coming up as well. So bear with us. We're just running through the Birmingham card if you're just joining. So, comment in the sidebar from Joe. Lyndon Arthur looks a bit gun shy, struggles pulling the trigger. I'm not quite sure about that. I think he wasn't expecting Yard to jump on him the way he did. Yard's a very good finisher, by the way, and very heavy-handed. And once he gets you going, any fighter taking shots off Yard that are landing clean like that is going to struggle to keep him off.
I'm a big believer that Yard just wasn't in the right place during the first fight. We all know it's well documented what was going on in his private life.
Yeah.
And I just believe the second version of Yard was a real version of Yard.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I'd sort of say that the performance in the second fight backs up Yard's argument from the first.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was any doubt in Arthur's mind that he got it wrong and Yard got it right, then why didn't they do it a third time?
Maybe he wasn't offered it a third time, Daz. Like I said, it looks like he's fell out of favour. I think it was a bit of a perfect storm for Yard, to be honest. I think he was brilliant on the night, and I think Lyndon Arthur was a bit off the pace. He didn't look right from the very first bell, in my opinion. So you just never know. Something could have been going on there. But anyway, swiftly moving on. Another Birmingham lad, Corey Gibbs. He's in an 8-round lightweight fight against Jimmy.
This first fight was an absolute shocker, wasn't it, with the gum shield? It was an absolute shocker, that first one was.
Yeah, bit weird, mate. I don't really get it. Let's just hope there's a big improvement here, because that needed to be a really big learning curve.
Well, you don't get many more fights in the show, does there?
Sorry, Daz.
Buy a gum shield that fits.
Crazy, mate.
Corey Gibbs can't afford another defeat if he wants to remain at this level, because, he just can't afford another defeat in my eyes. So I think he needs to set the record right in this fight.
He has to, don't he? Sean, how do you see this fight panning out?
I agree. I mean, I've got to be honest, I didn't know too much about Corey Gibbs prior to his last fight. So, yeah, he needs to mark improvement on that performance. And as you say, he's got to get all the small things in order for him to progress.
Right, okay. Comment in the sidebar. Do you want to pick that up from Joe, Cole?
So Joe says, since the second Yard fight, he's looked a different fighter to me. That'll be Lyndon Arthur. I have to agree.
Yeah, he's a it's like he's gone away to try and find himself again a little bit. Okay, Tyler Denny. He's in a 10-rounder against Macaulay McGowan. I don't know a lot about Macaulay McGowan.
I think this is fight of the night.
I don't. Yeah, they've got very similar records. Seen Tyler Denny a few times, and I think he's decent. Daz, do you know anything about Macaulay?
Yeah, he he fought Sergio Martinez.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about that anymore, does it? Was that about 3 fights ago, Daz?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he lost on points to Sergio Martinez. I remember when that fight was made. I thought even a Martinez who shot, would. So he's obviously got a bit of a chin on him. If he's going 10 rounds with Sergio Martinez.
Yeah.
I can't say that I know too much about him. But apart from he's obviously tough game. Denny's a good fighter. So yeah, I'd back up that I think it could be fight of the night. Definitely. It's got all the ingredients for it.
Yeah, I like Denny, but he don't half ship some shots. Yeah, that's my only concern for him. He likes to war a little bit too much, don't he?
That might be what makes it fight of the night, though, Carl.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to come to
that longevity, though.
Yeah, you're going to come to another fight soon, and I think this could be a surprise fight of the night, a contender for it. And as soon as you mention it, I'll say that's the one.
Sean, you have the same opinion?
Yeah, am I right in thinking that Macaulay was on the Tony Yoka card and he got a controversial decision against him?
Yeah, got locked in France.
Yeah, I mean, just for that reason, I hope he gets a win. Really.
Okay, swiftly moving on. Lauren Price in a fourth fight is fighting for the British welterweight title against Kirsty Babington. On paper, this looks like I wouldn't say a simple win for Lauren Price, but she's definite favourite in this fight. Kirsty Babington's been in with some tough cookies though. Beat April Hunter in 2021. Fought Sandy Ryan as well in 2021 and lost. But Lauren Price is just a different level, I think.
This could be a cracker.
You think Kirsty Babington's got a better chance?
I tell you what I do think. I think Lauren Price is going to be asked some questions in this fight.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And I do think Lauren Price is going to pass the test with flying colours, but I think it's not going to be plain sailing. Lauren. I mean, if Kirsty Babington fights like she did in her last fight, she's going to get her head pinged off all night, and it's going to be pretty gruesome to watch.
Yeah.
If Babington fights the right fight, I do think there's levels, and I do think Lauren Price is a level above, maybe 2 levels above, but Kirsty can make it very uncomfortable, and she's going to ask some questions of Lauren. And I think Lauren's going to answer him and pass
Which
the
is only right, isn't it, Daz, that she gets questions as it is for the British title. So it's
definitely,
only right.
mate, definitely. 1,000,000%. I mean, a lot of people are saying, let's be right, if the European Boxing Union hadn't have got on the right horse, this would have been for British and European titles. Yeah. Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. Massive titles at stake. I do think Lauren Price is going to come through it, but she's not going to have it all her own way, which is what, like you said, it's a British title fight. It's what you want.
Okay. Moving on to a WBO European super lightweight fight. 10-rounder, Sean McComb against Casey Benjamin. Now, I'm thinking, I know you think the Tyler Denny fight might be fight of the night. I think this might be fight of the night. The records are very, very similar. The knockout percentage is very, very similar. I think we're in for a bit of a war in this fight. Sean, I'll come to you first on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sean McComb will come through this one. I've seen him quite a lot on the old MTK cards that IFL used to be put on, and I've been impressed with him. And I think he may even win by late stoppage.
Right, okay. like I said, neither of them are massive punchers. Looking at the records, which generally means these sort of things generally get to the distance when you got records that are very similar. Daz, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight. From what I've seen in Macomb, I pretty much agree with Sean. To be fair, I think Macomb could take this one. It's a good fight, definitely. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it as fight of the night, going backwards and forwards all night.
Do you see him stopping Benjamin?
I mean, I know when you've got two non-punchers, you tend to think that it's going to go distance, but Gavin Gwynn and I thought that was Gavin Gwynn and the other fella.
Good point.
And on all, you think it's going to be points. You know, your boxing brain says it's going to be points, and I think it'll probably end up a split decision for Macomb. Probably, if I had to call it, what I think will exactly happen, I'd say split decision for Macomb.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of these two, I'm going to be honest, but I've watched a little bit of them on YouTube clips, and I'm going to go for Benjamin. I think he's going to take this. He looked very confident in the press conference today as well. So purely on the little bits that I've seen on YouTube, I'm going to pluck for Benjamin.
Okay, moving on to headline of the night, and for me, a bit strange that this is in Birmingham. We've got Joshua Buatsi in his first fight on Boxer, having made a lot of noise about coming over to Boxer for to get a better profile. I think he's said in the past, in recent interviews. He's in against Powell Stepien, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Obviously, Buatsi's unbeaten. Was seen as the golden boy a few years ago, looking like he was going to be the one in the Matchroom stable that was going to get the big push. That kind of died off. They've both had their opinions. Buatsi said a few things. Eddie Earn said a few things. So it's a case of believe who you wanna. But he needs to look really, really impressive in this, don't you, Sean?
Yeah, and for all the talk he said about having a world title fight, this has to be a win inside 4 or 5 rounds, I think, for him.
Does he turned down a fight. Apparently, he turned down a fight. It was there on the table, ready to be signed, against Bivol.
Good choice.
There was a lot of stipulations because it was his last fight for Matchroom. It would have been his last fight for Matchroom. There was going to be a lot of stipulations that he had to sign a multi-fight deal, which he wasn't happy doing. But it was going to be his biggest payday of his career. Do you think it was the right choice not to take that fight?
I'll tell you what, it does say the fact that if Eddie Earn's got in Bivol in his last fight, and Eddie Earn wants him to sign a multi-fight deal, I think Eddie Earn must have believed in him a bit for that. Eddie Earn must have given him a real shot. I mean, we saw them. You see, I think Bivol, as good as he is, we didn't quite know how good he were until, he dealt with Canelo. You know what I mean? There was always that air about him that he was somewhat pretty special. And then it's like, you get to the stage, you see how he dealt with Canelo and you think, yeah, you know what? This guy is as good as we thought he were. Do you know what I mean? But saying that, I mean, look at, you're going with best in world and you put up a great account of yourself. Your stock rises.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at Yard with Beterbiev. Do you know what I mean? I was having this conversation on Wednesday with Grant Smith, who owns Steel City Gym, and we're saying there's too many that want to get that O kept and don't want to go in against the best. And end of the day,
absolutely,
if you lose, learn from it It's a lesson, not a loss. You know, what I mean? You can't call yourself the best until you've fought the other people who are calling themselves the best.
Yeah.
And that's a proper boxing man saying that. That's a proper
Yeah.
boxing man saying that.
Yeah, you know, you can't do that. You know, you've got to go in with the other so-called best. So I do think that probably was the wrong decision on Boatsi's. I mean, it's a shot at a world title. What you in the game for? You know, and you can't say that he needed to learn his trade anymore. You know,
And obviously, it's going to come with a few strings on it from Eddie Hearn, isn't it? He's not going to give you a boatload of cash to go and fight Bivol and then not be tied down to a contract.
Do you know what, mate? Do you know if I was training Boatsi, right, and I got a phone call off Eddie Hearn, and he says, right, obviously, you know, your deal's running out with me. You've got one fight left. I've got your Dimitri Bivol for world title. We'll have a meeting. Obviously, you go to a meeting. And Eddie Hearn, as soon as Eddie Hearn had said, you know, I want you to sign a, 4-fight deal with me before the Bivol fight. I mean, let's be right. Eddie Hearn's not saying, if you beat Bivol, I want you to sign a 4-fight deal. Eddie Hearn is believing in you.
Yeah.
Eddie Hearn is putting his cards on the table and saying, I want to sign you to a 4-5 deal, whatever it were, before you go in with Bivol. Because he obviously believed in him.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what you want to be hearing from your promoter. You want, listen, I've got my criticisms of Eddie Hearn, but
he better get more active, Boatsy, because he ain't a great talker and he hasn't got much charisma, so he ain't going to do it outside the ring. So he better get more active inside the ring.
Talking. Yeah, I mean, look at Bivol v Craig Richards. Who'd have thought Craig Richards has done how he did with Bivol? So, listen, all it takes is that bit of, Bivol to be a bit off it, underestimating.
I'm never going to come on to it, but what a job he's done for John Ryder, Eddie Hearn. And you could draw parallels here, couldn't you, of what he could have done?
Yeah, definitely.
So Cole, just before I've got a question to ask you about this fight and where it's been held and stuff. Before I come to that, do you want to just pick some of the comments up in the sidebar?
Yep.
Dan B's obviously sat on the fence with this Boatsy situation.
Yeah, so good evening, Dan B. So obviously not a big fan of Boatsy. Joe said Boatsy needs to impress and get rid of this guy. He flatters to deceive for me in recent fights. Joe goes on to say, I'm not a fan of Virgil Hunter either. He's done nothing outside of Ward. Let's be honest, Joe, you could have trained Andre Ward and got the same results. Is that good? So I agree with that point. So what's the question, Andy?
My question is, why Birmingham?
Well, Ben Shalom's rationale today was that he's trying to build a regular fan base within the Midlands because Midlands boxing needs a regular boxing forum, was his excuse.
Why not put a Birmingham lad as an headliner then?
Don't know. He obviously wants to get Boatsy out, don't he, and get him more active. I'm not sure why he's headlining. You'd have to ask Ben Shalom that one, and the legend.
It could all be about Ben Whittaker. This he could see the future British light heavyweight as Ben Whittaker,
and he probably is.
And Ben Whittaker's probably propping that card up because I wouldn't imagine Boatsy doing many tickets.
No, so he could probably be thinking, do you know what? Ben Whittaker. Listen, Ben, as a promoter, I think you're always going to look at fighters and think, if you've got 2 or 3 around in the same weight, you're always going to have one that you think he's going to be best out.
Yeah.
He's going to come out on top. And do you know what? Ben Shalom could think that Ben Whittaker's going to be the best out of the lot.
Ben Whittaker's definitely got the future, hasn't he? But when you sign somebody with Boatsy's caliber and name, why'd you take him out of London? He don't make sense to me.
But Eddie Hearn has said that. I mean, there's him, a Cole, isn't there, where they just don't shift tickets, is what Eddie Hearn says. You know, they just don't shift them. So why would you put them on in London and, you know, you're in danger of not shifting tickets?
Could be
'Cause I'm not convinced either of them are ticket sellers. They're very good at what they do, but have they got big fan bases? A bit like
Maybe
Brighton
not.
Football
You
Club.
might be right, mate.
Could be to try and widen the profile.
Yeah, well, they're going to be on Sky, Daz, aren't they? So let's get them out and get them in front of the Sky audience, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Okay, just before we move on then, lads, round robin, how do we think the fight pans out? Start with you, Daz.
Buatsi 7 or 8.
Sean?
I think a bit earlier, 4 or 5, Buatsi.
Okay, you don't think this Steffen's any sort of durability quality there then?
I just think for Sky at least, how they're building up Buatsi, he has to produce the goods, I think.
Cole?
Yeah, round 7 for me.
I'm going
a very one-sided fight, I might add.
Yeah, I'm going a little bit later than that. I'm going to go round 9, but Buatsi definitely stops him. Okay, lads. Swiftly moving on to what is really a celebration for Canelo Alvarez. Homecoming, first time he's fought in Mexico for, I don't know, however many years, 10 years, something crazy.
I think it's 8 years.
8 years. Apologies.
I think it's more, to be fair. I think it's since 2011.
Right, so yeah, okay.
A long time. It's a long
while anyway.
Quite a bit.
While. Yeah. A long while, which is very surprising considering he talks about being the Mexican fighter, being the prime Mexican fighter.
It's shadowing on there.
Understandable with obviously the big Mexican community in Texas as well, that he fights out of that AT&T Stadium because it holds a massive crowd, don't it? But John Ryder's got some cojones to be going down there into that cauldron to take this fight on. I mean, John Ryder is the most chilled out fella you can imagine. And I'm sure he's I don't want to sound patronising here, but I'm sure he's very grateful he's getting this shot. And he'll be getting paid a lot of money. But he's not the sort of... He don't come across to me as the sort of fighter that's taking this fight just for money. He'll be going there thinking he's got a chance. You know, Canelo's coming off of the difficult situation with Bivol. You know, he then goes into a fight with Triple G, who's well past his best. He's had hand surgery recently. So he's playing devil's advocate a little bit here. Is John Ryder getting him at the right time?
I think Joe is saying don't say it, and I think he wants to say daring to be great. I think that's what he's missing.
Wasn't going to go there this time, Joe. Wasn't going to go there, Joe.
So, first of all, I think we need to give props for Eddie Hearn for I know he's a mandatory, but you know, to getting this over the line for John Ryder, you know, it's life changing for Ryder.
Yeah.
It wasn't long ago, was it? It was losing to the likes of Nick Blackwell, Billy Joe, you know, Callum Smith, and you know, he's pulled a few results out of the bag, a couple of dodgy ones that touch and go whether he actually won, but he did beat Zach Parker. He went onto a BT show and beat him. What can you say? He's got kahunas onto in Canelo's backyard. He's got nothing to lose though. Nothing to lose. I hope he just goes and puts it on Canelo. Sits on his chest and bang away. That's what I think he should do. I'll be getting up to watch it, and you've got to get behind John Ryder because we're all English or British, whatever you want to call us. Let's hope he can dare to be great, Joe, and win the fight.
Good evening, James Sweeney. Just before I come to you, Sean. Good evening, James Sweeney. He's put, and you can answer this, Sean. If Canelo loses again, does he retire?
Yeah, I think he would. However, I don't think he's going to lose this fight. But one thing I will say about John Ryder is I do think he has the ability to take this late. You know, I've seen a few people think it would be a 2 or 3 round blowout for Canelo, but I think John Ryder's tough. He's experienced. He's been in big fights. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he takes Canelo to points.
Well, Sean, Canelo looks at you for 2 rounds, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He has a good look at you for 2 rounds, so it ain't going. It's I think John. People are underestimating John a little bit. I think he takes it late as well.
Yeah.
Do you think he goes to points though, Carl? Do you think Canelo stops?
No, I don't think he'll quite make points. I think he'll eventually the body shots will tell, because Canelo's a different beast at super middle than he is to light heavy.
Yeah,
He's a much more dangerous fighter at super middle. So I think, I'm not even moved on to predictions yet, but I think about round 10. About round 10, he'll stop. He'll stop him.
I'm in two minds here, because I think Canelo's style's changing a bit. He's getting a little bit tired. Is probably the only way I can really describe it. He's not putting 4 and 5 shots together, body shots, head shots. He's picking ones, maybe ones and twos, but picking the right spots. Working out patterns from a fighter and then finding the weak point, like he did with Billy Joe Saunders. He don't take fighters out like he used to take them out. But that being said, and this is when the second half of my brain kicks in, it's his first fight in Mexico in a very, very long time, and I think he might want to put a show on. So you might see a Canelo, depending on how he feels about his hand, it might be a Canelo that comes out to be quite devastating.
And it's not only his own coming, is it? It's Cinco de Mayo as well.
Crazy.
So, but wouldn't it be great if he knocked Canelo out and he just went quiet? Can you imagine? Can you just imagine?
I wouldn't like to be John Ryder trying to get out of that stadium, mate. That's all I'll say.
I'm not so sure. I think the Mexicans I'm not so sure. I think the Mexicans appreciate it when they've got a fighter who puts it on their own.
Oh, they do, mate. Of course. But they're very loyal, aren't they? They're very loyal. They're very emotional. Apart from the UK, mate, best boxing fans in the world.
Yeah. That's not a bad question from Jane Sweeney, if you want to read that out.
Does the fact that he's fighting in Mexico mean that he lost his star value since the Bivol loss? Meaning in the US, I'm guessing. No, not at all.
No,
not in my opinion. Anyway, what do you think to that, Daz?
No, he's still a superstar, mate. Still a superstar. He's fighting because it's Cinco de Mayo and he's Mexican.
Interesting though that this is the time that he's decided to go back to Mexico, isn't it?
Yeah, he's. I'd have preferred him v Benavidez on this.
That would have made much more sense
on this date, but it's like you guys have said. A lot of people. I mean, I take people who are saying, "Oh, listen, he's going to blow Ryder away in 3 or 4 rounds with a pinch of salt." That's not. I can't see that happening. I think Ryder's going to have some success. I really do. I think John Ryder's going to have some success in this fight. I think I said a few weeks ago. When it were muted about. I think I said that I fancy Canelo to stop Ryder with body shots. I don't think he'll stop him with head shots. I think he'll eventually get to him with body shots later on. Now, saying Ryder's going to have success, I think we'll see the success, but the judges won't. So no matter how much,
he's got to knock him out, isn't it?
So no matter how much success Ryder has, it's going to, and it shouldn't be like that, but it is, unfortunately. I'm a big thing where Canelo's probably 3 rounds up before you've even started. Sometimes.
Not sometimes, Daz. Every fight.
Well, listen, I gave Amir Khan every round. Until he got nailed. Amir Khan won every round for me.
He's a very slow starter, like Carl was saying earlier on. He's a very slow starter.
Well, he stalks his prey, don't he? And has a good look at him, you know.
Yeah, listen, I love that. I love that thought process he's got. He sets traps, a bit like Javonte Davis does.
Yeah.
Sets traps.
But it's a different animal at 168 to what he's at 175. Andy will tell you, I've said that for a long time, that 175 is just a step too far.
Yeah. I mean, it was a free shot at greatness, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Extra greatness, should I say. You know, he's lost to Bivol, and people now are sort of saying, well, you know, Canelo turned pro as a welterweight. You know, he's fought one of the best light heavyweights in the world and lost on points. Do you know what I mean?
As we're talking about that, the likelihood is that if he comes through this Ryder fight as everyone expects him to, that the Bivol rematch will be the next fight that they'll try and make. The question is...
Not at light heavyweight, though, apparently.
Well, here's the question. The question is, Bivol is demanding that it's at 168 because he wants to be undisputed at 2 weights. Now, that means... That's Bivol saying, I'm quite happy to drain myself down to try and become undisputed at 2 weights. Canelo's refusing to fight him at 168, apparently.
So what only wants it.
Only wants it because he's saying it. Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. He's either scared that if he fights him at 168, he gets beat again, and Bivol takes all of his belts. Or
what weight does he want it at? Do you know?
175.
175.
Yeah, 175.
He's saying
Canelo wants it at 175.
Yeah, he's saying he's lost it. He lost to Bivol at 175. He wants to beat him at 175.
Well, I read the other day that Canelo don't want it at 175.
No, well, this has come from Eddie Hearn.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a weird narrative, that really, isn't it? You know, Canelo's best weight, as Carl said, is 168, and then Bivol's like saying, listen, pure fighting man, Bivol. Obviously, he's saying, listen, it's widely recognised that your best weight is 168. I'll come to your weight and I'll whip you again.
Crazy.
So, you know, listen, massive respect to Dimitri Bivol, pure fighter. But yeah, on that narrative, I sort of agree with what you're saying. I mean, but do you know what? Let's say Bivol comes down and beats Canelo at 168. I don't see anyone else beating Canelo, you know, around that weight. So does that really tarnish your legacy, losing to a possible another all-time great?
It's whether he can look in the mirror, though, doesn't it? That's what I'm doing.
But
and not only that, Daz. Where's his bargaining chips then for the next fights? Who's he got left at that weight? Because we've all said it on this show.
But this is what I mean. It's like, don't worry about what comes if you lose. Don't go into it with that attitude. That's what I mean. It's like Bivol saying, "Listen, I'll fight you at 168. Don't bother me." That's recognised. Bivol wants greatness, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bivol wants that legacy. Now, I mean, look at what happened when Canelo lost to Floyd. People were saying, before that fight, a lot of people were saying that Canelo were going to walk through Floyd. He was going to be too big, too young, too strong. Floyd schooled him. After that, it was like, well, he'll learn from that. And he did learn from that.
Yeah.
You know, it made him a better fighter for me. But
I mean, Canelo's 32, so how much longer is he going to hang around? Bearing in mind, he hasn't really got that much left to achieve, has it?
No, he hasn't, mate. That's a good point. I mean, I think Marvin Hagler said it best. It's harder to get out of silk pajamas and silk bed sheets when you've got hundreds of millions in bank. You know, it's harder to go for them 5 a.m. runs. But the point that he made about looking in the mirror was absolutely spot on. Now, what if he fights Bivol at 168 and loses fairly as he did last time?
Yeah.
You know, he gives it his best and loses. What if he goes through all these demands and says, "No, I want to fight you at 175. I don't want to fight you at 168." It doesn't happen. What's worse? Do you know what I mean? Regret. It's very hard.
I don't think Canelo would regret not fighting him again. I think he'll feel more comfortable with not fighting him again and not losing.
But there's always going to be that.
I don't agree. I don't think he ducks. I don't think he ducks any. I don't think he's bothered about anyone. I think he jumps in again. He jumped in with Triple G. I know he waited a while, but I think he wants him at 175 to right the wrong.
He does want him at 175, but what I'm saying is if Bivol refuses, like Daz has said, if Bivol refuses to fight him at 175 and says the only way this fight happens is at 168, I don't think Canelo takes that fight at 168.
I mean, let's be fair. Bivol's putting himself at a disadvantage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bivol's the one saying, Bivol to me there, he's saying, right, listen, after the fight, you know, everyone was saying 168's Canelo's best weight. It's his natural weight. It's his best weight. He stepped up. So Bivol's now saying, listen, I'll come down to your best weight.
Dad, I can understand why Canelo don't want any of it at 168 though, because if he beats him, it's because Bivol's weight trained. And if he loses, he's got to tip his hat and admit he's a better man. So I can understand why he wants it at 175.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't happen, it's a crib. Do you know what? It might even be another catch weight malarkey. Shouldn't be.
Potentially.
Yeah, shouldn't be. But it might be a case of that.
I guess. I mean, who's got the bargaining chips though? Really?
What now?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, it should be Bivol.
Because he won the first fight.
Yeah, should be Bivol. But Canelo's the bigger star.
He is the bigger star, the bigger name, the bigger
Money.
draw.
Yeah, he's the bigger star, but you know, I mean, to be fair and all, I do think. Listen, Canelo's a fighting man. You know, there's no two ways about that. He's a proper fighting man, but he chose what he believed was the weaker of the light heavyweight champions in Bivol. He chose Bivol. He did not want to go in with Beterbiev. He thought he could have his way with Bivol. He thought he could possibly be stronger than Bivol, you know, and Bivol was far too good and far too big. You know, looking back at it, would he have done better? Listen, Beterbiev gets hit, doesn't he? We've seen Beterbiev hit. We've seen him dropped. Looking back on it, do we think Canelo probably could have done better against Beterbiev?
I think Beterbiev's on the slide. I'll be honest, and yes, he does get hit, but he hits very, very hard. I think he would have stopped Canelo.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Canelo's very good defensively. I mean, could he have withstood what Canelo were going to hit him with? I mean, to stop Canelo, I think he'd have had to wear him down, probably 9, 10, 11, 12 rounds. Could he have got that far?
You just don't belong at 175 is the answer.
He don't, mate. No, he don't. No, and do you know what, mate? That is the best comment I've ever heard on this Canelo situation. It's the best comment ever. Basically that comment, mate, deserves a full stop and a comma at the end of it. That is it. He does not belong. He's gone. And they've all done it. Listen, the greatest that ever lived did it. Sugar Ray Robinson. He did it. He tried to go up.
Roy Jones.
Yeah, well, I mean, Roy Jones did do it, didn't he? But, but he then made the mistake of coming back down.
Yeah.
Rather than, I think we said this when what legacy would Roy Jones have had if he'd have retired after Ruiz fight?
Absolutely, mate.
One
of the greatest ever.
To boil your body back down 12 and a half, to go to 15 and a half stone, touching 16 stone, then to come back down to 12 and a half stone when, it was a decent size light heavyweight in the first place. He'd probably have been better off going to cruiserweight. Yeah.
Absolutely great. So before we move on to the last topic, there's another fight on this bill that I want to touch on. Julio Cesar Martinez is putting his WBC flyweight on the title on the line against Ranel Batista. Now, this is probably a formality for Cesar Martinez, but the reason I'm bringing it up is obviously this is a very, very strong division. We've got our own Sonny Edwards sat there with the IBF title. Jesse Rodriguez with the WBO title. It's a very, very, very good division if these three fight each other.
It just doesn't get much exposure, though, does it?
No, they never do, though, these weights, do they?
That's what I mean.
But it's got to be talked about because Sonny Edwards is outstanding.
Sonny Edwards,
and so the other two, to be fair.
Sonny Edwards is the best flyweight in the world.
Yeah, I agree, mate. So my question, I'll come to you, Daz, since you made that comment. I'll come to you. Martinez comes through this fight early hours of Sunday morning. Who would you rather Edwards go in with next, Martinez or Rodriguez?
I think it's more likely to be Martinez because Bam suffered a broken jaw, didn't he?
Right.
So, none of them want Edwards, let's be honest.
Listen, I want him in with any of them because he beats them all.
The running does, aren't they? Let's be honest. He's been trying to make the fights with him now for about 18 months.
They don't want no part of him, mate. He's, he's an absolute nightmare, isn't he?
Yeah. Unbelievable skill, outstanding.
Absolute
Sean?
Nightmare.
Sean, same question to you, mate.
Yeah, I agree with Daz. I think Bam will be the hardest fight, but again, I think he beats them all.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think Bam's a more difficult fight than Martinez. Cole?
Yeah, I agree with what they both says. I think if he gets the opportunity, that's a caveat for me. He'll unify. Now with Eddie Hearn, he's got a great chance, if I'm honest, because if anyone can do it, Eddie Hearn can.
Well, he's got the promoter now, and that's a big deal. Because as long as Eddie Hearn shows the real backing that he needs, Edwards. Because the problem is, you've just said it yourself. It's not seen as a sexy division.
No.
He doesn't get the publicity that it deserves. Sonny Edwards hasn't got the name he deserves. Sonny Edwards should be one of the biggest stars in boxing. But
I mean, yeah, you're right, and it's criminal that these lower weights don't get the thingy. I mean, one of my favorite fighters ever, Ricardo Lopez, who was a strawweight world champion, and just all I'll say to people, say I never heard of him, just watch him. Just watch him. He had a nickname Finito for a reason. Do you know what I mean? It was like, just watch the guy.
It's because, Daz, without stating the obvious, the majority of boxing fans want to see a knockout, don't they?
Yeah.
So when you go down to lighter weights, 9 times out of 10, you don't really get a knockout.
No, I mean, let's be right. Inue's had to move up, hasn't he?
Yeah.
To sort of get bits. I mean,
I'm thinking even in the slightly higher weights, Devin Haney got slagged off for his performance against Cambosis, and I sat there going, "Well, what? From a purist perspective, that it was an exhibition.
Why on earth would you give up the advantage? You've got
a skill advantage. Thing is as well. You look at Sonny Edwards. He's brilliant on the mic. He's brilliant in interviews. He's great on social media. He's dynamite, really. He says a lot of things that are a bit controversial, but he's dynamite. He gets people talking.
You know what, mate? He's a really nice kid as well. From by all accounts, I've spoke to him a couple of times. He's a really nice kid.
Is with Grant Smith, Inter?
He is, yeah. He's a big fan of Nicola as well. From his last commentary. No, but he's a very, very good fighter. And do you know what? And I think it's the ultimate compliment from him. He's been, he's been dropped as well. And usually, if these Mexicans and that see a chink, they're all over it. Oh yeah. Marley. Listen, when Sonny Edwards got dropped, straight back up and went round probably.
Yeah.
And it's like, so he's got a bit of a chin on him, and he's like, he's a nightmare, mate. He's an absolute nightmare. Yeah. Granted, I don't think he's the biggest hitter, but he hits hard enough to get. And it don't matter whether you're feather fisted or not. If you've got your mind, as a trainer, I always say, if you've got your mind on hitting somebody, and while you're thinking about hitting somebody, next minute you get hit, your plans change.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's whether you hit hard or not. That's just you upset somebody's rhythm, and thought process, you're halfway there. And Sonny Edwards is a master at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carl, do you buy into this little bit of a feud with Charlie Edwards?
No. No, I think it's just no. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? His own brother calling him out.
Crazy.
No. And I think it's, in a way, it took, I think Sonny dealt with it very well, to be honest. There's obviously something gone off between the two of them, isn't there? They've not really said too much, but you can tell there's a bit of animosity there. But no.
Okay, that clears that up. Swiftly moving on then, lads. Last topic of the night. Bit of a surprise this to me. So, Beterbiev against Callum Smith has gone to purse bids and it's been won by Top Rank. Again, and we've seen a lot of this recently, Matchroom get beat to a purse bid. The real shake here is that this net fight is now likely to be in Canada. Obviously, they're gonna give Beterbiev every opportunity to keep his titles. Daz, I'll come to you. Are you a little bit surprised that once again Matchroom's lost a purse bid?
I don't think they lost it by much, did they?
£15,000.
Yeah. I think I think somebody's cocked up there, if I'm honest.
What Eddie Hearn said is obviously been negotiating, and obviously there's a split involved because Beterbiev's a champion.
Yeah.
So Eddie Hearn said normally you can kind of gauge how much the others are going to offer in the purse because of the split. And he just admitted that he got it wrong.
Yeah, fair dues then, obviously.
And he said he was willing to lose money on this one and take it to Liverpool, so he was gutted by all accounts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If that's the case, though, Carl, then put a bit more money down, mate.
Well, it's like saying that, isn't it? If you think you're putting down what's going to win, hindsight's a great thing, isn't it?
Obviously with that purse bid's won, can Matchroom not put another one in?
No, they can negotiate with Top Rank to try and get it over to England, but it don't look good, does it?
So basically, Top Rank have got 90 days to make the fight.
Yeah.
If I were Callum Smith and if they didn't want to come to England, I'd sort of take that as a bit of a positive, really.
Oh, yeah.
From a financial perspective, I can't imagine Beterbiev shifting many tickets in Canada because he's not originally from there. I'm not sure what his fan base is like.
He's based there, though, isn't he?
But what do you reckon he's following? I mean, when you get, we've said it before on the show, when you go to North America, they don't tend to buy tickets, do they?
No, I think that's why Lucian Bute came to England as well, because Bute was based in Canada, weren't he?
Yeah. By Romania.
And he was, let's not forget, Bute was absolutely massive. Bute was a favourite to beat.
He never travelled, though, had he?
No, but it was a favourite to beat France.
He was by a long way as well.
So, a lot of bargaining power. He was knocking people out, and, he still came to England.
What Hearn might do, Hearn might go, well, this is what the fight's worth in Canada, but with TV rights. However, if you brought it over to, let's say, Anfield,
this is what
it's worth this much. That's the way I'd play it.
Yeah.
Also then, looking at it that way, the purse bid's been won by Top Rank, who show their UK fights on Sky TV. Where does this fall?
See, I'm not sure about how that works, Andy. Do you know Michael Conlan's fight? That's on BT.
Is it?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, right, if the promoters in England worked together on this and stacked Anfield with Smith v Beterbiev, exactly. Tasha Jonas v whoever, Liam Smith v whoever.
Liam Smith in another world title.
Imagine if this, if they worked together and did that, how big would that be?
Huge, mate.
Do you know what I mean?
So Joe in the sidebar says, I can see Tottenham putting the fight on with Queensborough in Liverpool, with Warren having a stable full of Scousers.
Maybe, but
I don't see it.
Warren show, isn't it?
Say
Say
again,
again.
Sean.
The Mick Conlon show is promoted by Frank Warren, isn't it? In
Yeah.
Belfast. Yeah.
There's a very good relationship with Bob Arum and Frank Warren, though, isn't there?
Yeah, it's true.
They go back a long way, and they've got a lot of respect for
yeah.
each other. So you can understand why he's done that. You can understand why he's gone to Warren and gone, put this on for us, get it on. But I wonder what Sky think of that, though, because obviously they had that deal where they showed top rank fights from the States, and they've obviously, they've shown Josh Taylor fights on Sky when he was with Top Rank. Must be a bit of a kick in the teeth to Sky that it's gone to BT.
Although they've got the fabulous boxer card on down at Bournemouth, so they wouldn't have had space anyway, would they? On that particular night.
Yeah, but I'm sure if they'd have gone to Sky, they would have said they would have moved that Birmingham card, mate.
Well, it must be. I'd imagine it's a fight by fight with Top Rank with BT. I've not seen anything announced about a multi-fight deal or whatever broadcasting.
Yeah, well, when they first announced it, it was a big deal, mate.
Announced what?
The Top Rank were going to be showing their fights on Sky when that was originally announced.
I'm talking about BT though. I've not seen anything about the deal with Top Rank and BT.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So is it on a fight by fight? Who knows?
Maybe just a one-off. Seeing as though we've segued a little bit into the Mick Conlon fight, let's talk about that a little bit. Any other business, obviously, but let's talk about that, and then we'll come back to what we think on Smith Buttergov in a second. So this is a real good opportunity in my opinion, because I don't believe Lopez is anywhere near the levels of the very best in this division. Obviously, all the advantages sit with Michael Conlon. Carl, how do you see the fight panning out?
Yeah, I think Conlon beats him. People got in on me on social media for what I said about Wood versus Conlon. But I always said Conlon would win a world title at this weight. One thing I'm interested about is how Warrington fits into all this jigsaw. Because at the minute he's just kind of on the sidelines waiting. I'm assuming he's going to take the win of this one, I'd imagine. But yeah, I think Conlon is absolutely going to outclass Lopez. I didn't particularly rate Lopez's performance against Warrington, if I'm honest. He spent the second half of the fight moaning all fight. So, yeah, I think Conlon, I think he'll beat him on points.
Daz?
Yeah, I'll second that, mate. I think Conlon, another good bit of matchmaking. Right fighter.
Right timing.
Right timing, right style. Yeah, Conlon for me. Interesting point with Warrington, though. Where does he fit in? I mean, it's been rumoured that he's turned the Jazza Dickens fight down. I don't know how true that is.
Why would you want that fight? That's ridiculous.
Well, Jazza Dickens who needs him club at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to. I think it's the fact that Warrington, was a comeback fight. Is it that bad of a opponent for a comeback fight? I mean,
I don't want to. I'm not disrespecting Jazza Dickens at all, but Jazza Dickens isn't world level in my opinion.
But should Warrington, though, after these fights, be jumping in with the elite straight away?
Yeah, because he's at that point in his career, mate. What's the point in fighting European level fighters? That makes no sense for Warrington.
I think Jazza Dickens is a potential banana skin for Warrington.
Another reason why you wouldn't take that fight.
Yeah. I don't think Warrington should be getting in. Sorry, I just don't think Warrington should be getting in with the elite. I think he needs to, rebuild himself a little bit.
The smart money is that a lot of people will agree with that, Daz, on his last outing, but the problem is that's where the money's at. And
He
at this
hasn't
point
got
in his
time to hang
career,
around. He
at
hasn't
this
got time.
point in his career, he's going to
Yeah.
want the biggest and the best
Yeah,
fight.
but what I'm saying is, if he fought Jazza Dickens, I mean, when was it? I don't know when was it muted to fight Jazza Dickens? Let's say August. Let's say I'll pluck a month out, August. Fights Jazza Dickens in August, looks $1 million, does a job on him. Great. Do you know what I mean? It's like fights Jazza Dickens, doesn't look great. You know, these alarming signs. Then his team have to have a look and think, right, what do we need to work on? He goes in with the elite and gets smashed.
Just playing devil's advocate for a minute. If Eddie Hearn's told you, so you're Josh Warrington, if Eddie Hearn's told you, sit tight, Josh, you're getting the winner of Wood versus Lara, then what would you do?
If that's all,
that could be plausible, couldn't it?
Yeah. If that's all that's on offer, mate, then yeah, you're going to do that, are you?
I think that's a guarantee. That's what happens next.
Yeah, if that's all that's on the table, then yeah, you're going to take that. You know, but for me, going from losing to Lopez to straight in with the winner of Wood or Martinez, I don't think it's great, if I'm honest. And I like Josh Warrington. I think he should have a fight in between while he's waiting.
He ain't got many left, though, Dad, has there?
No, let's be fair, though. If he's going to be world champion again, he should be dealing with Jazza Dickens, shouldn't he? You know, should be dealing with...
I'm thinking of that payday on the horizon. If he jumps in with Jazza Dickens and gets done, all of a sudden that fight's gone.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But
it's gone. Yeah. The Jazza Dickens fight isn't going to make him half of what he'd get in a world title fight against either Wood or Lara or even Lopez or Conlon.
But we can look at it from other way. I'm probably looking at it from a trainer's point of view, where I'm saying,
I get what you're saying, mate.
Where I'm saying that if Warrington goes in with a European level fighter and gets beat up, then I've saved. You know, listen, you don't want Lee Wood belting you in face all night, do you? And you don't want Martinez belting you in face all night. It's like maybe if there's something, you know, not there anymore. Maybe if he's too much wear and tear. I don't know, mate. It all boils down to money, doesn't it? I understand what you're saying. You know, the big payday for a world title is more money than losing.
I mean, we interviewed him, didn't we, Andy? What I would say is, I got him all wrong. What I've seen on the canvas, what he's like in real life, is very, very different. What a nice
he's an outstanding fella.
Yeah.
So,
he were at weigh-in because obviously Reece Mould boxed.
That's where we interviewed.
That's where we interviewed him.
Yeah, he made all time for Nick and that. Nick had a photo with him. Yeah, he was really nice, man. I've got to say, his dad is as well.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah,
his dad's a nice man as well, and you know,
his dad's got a joke or two though, and he does.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I hope Warrington does reclaim a world title, but I always look from a trainer's point of view. He's a nice guy. I don't want to see him get hurt.
No.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, as a trainer, you're right, and I'm sure Sean O'Hagan's thinking.
Yeah, is his dad
thinking those things in the background without saying it to Josh? He's probably thinking those things in the background. But Josh Warrington, he does live up to that name of the Warrior, mate.
Of course he does, mate. Yeah, of course he does. Listen,
and he wants Lara, don't he?
He wants Lara. He wants to right that wrong. That is. You were talking about
what
Canelo looking. You're talking about Canelo looking in the mirror and not being able to live with himself. I don't think Josh Warrington can live with himself from that Lara fight.
Do you think Josh Warrington can beat Lara?
No.
I think he gets. I don't think he can keep out Lara. He's not. Listen, let's be right. Josh Warrington's not exactly elusive, is he?
No.
His style suits Lara, don't it? Josh has always been the sort of fighter.
Is he going to outfight? Is he going to outfight, out punch, out rough, out tough Lara?
He can box. Josh can box, though. I'll give him this. He can box. The problem is
we did that last time in first fight, and he got drawn in.
Yeah, exactly. Because
his instinct. He wants to fight.
Yeah. You're right, mate. And especially in front of that home crowd where they're egging him on as well, that Leeds crowd. He wants to impress.
To me, if you're going to outbox Lara, you've got to be able to punch very, very hard. You've got to discourage him a little bit. Listen,
I do think Warrington would jump in with Lara. That's what I think.
Yeah. I'm not doubting
jump in with the winner of Wood Lara. That's what I think you would.
Listen, I do think outcomes. I do think he does better against Lee Wood, but I think the outcome's the same as it would be. Lee Wood punches far too hard.
Lee Wood's got to take care of Lara first. By the way, we're going down to interview Lee Wood in a couple of weeks down at the gym, so keep your eyes out on the channel.
Will do.
Sean, let's have your opinion on what you do with Warrington.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world he would have a decent run out before he turns into the elite level, like you said. But I guess for him, he has to weigh it up. If he did lose in one of those fights, it's curtains, really, isn't it? So yeah. I think probably doing the waiting out for the winner of Lee Wood and Lara, I think the right idea. If it works out or not, who knows?
Yeah, and he'd rather go out on his shield, let's say. It's an awful phrase, but he'd rather go out on his shield fighting the best or stroke elite in the division rather than going out against a European level where we just find out there's nothing left.
You know what? There's one thing I'll say about both Warrington and Lee Wood, and that is they're both mentally very, very, very strong and believe.
They've got bollocks.
They've got bollocks. They believe in their own abilities, and both of them want to fight the very, 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 very best, even though it's really dangerous. You know, they both want Lara again.
I can understand why though, because they've come up the hard way, haven't they? Both of them, where they've had to fight for everything they've got, for the TV deals, for the money. So now, they're at the echelon of the weight division.
Yeah.
So they want to jump in with the best.
It's that mentality. It's that old school mentality, Carl.
Yeah,
you don't see in boxers nowadays.
There's a lot to be said, right? When you're having to play your trade on small shows, selling tickets, not getting opportunities, getting overlooked for far inferior fighters.
Yeah.
Listen, that feeds the fire in some. That feeds the fire. It creates a fire as well. And it that could be very good. Having that grounding. And I mean, let's be right, Josh Warrington boxed on smaller.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
And Josh Warrington probably got looked at and thought, I'd rather go with so and so than him. And
he got overlooked, just like him.
Yeah, and it all adds up. You know what I mean? If you use it right, it's not a disappointment. It's all fuel to the fire.
Now, if the stars all align, lads, Marco Conlan beats Lopez, Lee Wood beats Lara. What's the chances that you get a unification next before you get Warrington in with?
No, I think it's contracted. I think it's contracted that Warrington gets the winner of Wood Lara, and then I think you'll move on.
Yeah, because if they win, if Conlan and Wood win, and then they fight a unification, then that's Warrington out in cold, isn't it? Then he should have had a run out. So if he's not having a run out, it's got to be like you guys said. It's got to be because he's been promised something. Yeah. Winner of Wood Lara. So
that fight, whoever wins the Lee Wood Lara fight, the winner we're saying is getting Warrington. Does it obviously if it's Lee Wood, we're talking a stadium fight there. We're talking either Ellen Road or the City Ground in the late summer, more than likely.
Does Warrington beat Conlan?
No.
Does Warrington beat Lara?
No.
No. Does Warrington beat Lee Wood?
No.
I think Warrington can beat Lopez though.
But does Lopez beat Conlan?
In my opinion, no.
Who's he got the best chance? Here's an interesting question. Who's Warrington got the best chance against? Conlan, Wood or Lara?
You've coming out with some questions tonight, mate.
I'm gonna say Lee Wood.
You reckon?
Yeah.
It all
I don't
depends.
think he
I tell
beats
you,
him, man.
I'll give my opinion, but I'll give a caveat first. It all depends on how Mick Conlan approaches the fight. Because if Mick Conlan chooses to stand and trade,
Which he wouldn't.
in my opinion, he's got a better chance against Mick Conlan because he doesn't bang like.
He wouldn't. Whenever his Conlan stood in trade, though, he just wouldn't do it, would he?
Well, you wouldn't think so. But if he thinks he's got a Josh Warrington that's on the slide, he might.
No chance. No.
The most entertaining fight, I'll answer it this way. The most entertaining fight is Lee Wood. Because they will both stand and trade. And that plays into, that does play into Warrington.
Do you not think, though, that's a tactical mistake on Warrington's part? Standing and trading with a banger?
It's, yeah.
Because
But that's Warrington's game, though, isn't it?
I don't think Warrington can switch Lee Wood's lights out with 1-8, but I think Wood can switch Warrington's lights out.
I agree. I agree. Warrington's a cumulative puncher, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think Conlan gives them all kittens, to be honest, because Conlan's just a nightmare, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest, he gave Wood a hell of a fight in that first half of the fight.
I think Conlan punches a little bit harder than he gets credit for.
Well, he dropped Wood, didn't he? I know he didn't see it coming, but
it was a wide shot, weren't it? It was a wide shot, and yeah.
In my opinion, lads, yeah, it was a very heavy knockdown, but Lee Wood didn't see that punch coming.
But that's what makes you dangerous.
That's the point I'm making. So maybe it isn't that he hits that hard. Maybe it's that he didn't see that punch coming because if you remember rightly, lads, he landed that same shot 3 or 4 times in the next round.
Yeah.
And he didn't put Lee Wood down.
Yeah.
Because he saw him coming.
Yeah.
Conlan's a problem, though. Conlan's a big problem.
Yeah.
Conlan's quality. Yeah, he's quality,
he's
mate.
Good. Yeah, he's good.
But is he big enough? That's the problem. Is he big enough to keep the very best off?
I think he gives Lara a right tough night because
don't forget he's come up from Super Bantam.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be there for. I think he would run rings around Lara. I'm not saying Lara wouldn't catch him eventually, but he's going to give Lara a lot to think about.
Would Lara be really worried about what's coming his way? I don't think he would. I think Lara'd probably walk after him for 8 or 9 rounds, and then just switch his lights out.
Conlan, you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think Conlan would be there to hit though. Does
I don't think it's the fact that I think he'd make him work at a mad pace, by walking him down, and I think he'd just hit him anywhere. Don't matter where he hit him.
Daz, you say that, but he didn't employ them tactics against Lee Wood.
No, because to be fair, mate, I think he knows Lee Wood could bang. As much as Lara is macho, machismo, mano a mano.
He felt it, didn't he? He felt them shots.
Yeah, he's not stupid, mate. Lee Wood's a world-class puncher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So listen, he'd have watched the fight with Conlan. He'd have done his research on Wood, and then when he's first felt the punch, he'd have probably thought, yeah.
Andy will be able to tell you how hard he punches because he jumped in the ring with a body bag on when we get out. So, he'll enjoy that. I've signed you up, Andy, didn't I tell you?
Yeah, terrific.
I'll
be staying in the car then, mate.
It's like he knows he's a Mexican warrior, but he'll know. He'll think, listen, I can't walk straight into this kid. I can't walk straight into him. I can't walk into them shots for 12 rounds. They're not daft. He's a world-class fighter.
Here's a question for you then, Dad, while we're throwing questions out there.
Well then.
I hope this don't happen, obviously. If Wood was to lose against Lara, is the Warrington fight still there due to the magnitude of the fight?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
I don't think it happens next though, Carl.
Yeah.
I think like you've said, I think that it's already drawn. The contract's already drawn up that Warrington fights the winner regardless.
Yeah.
So
Then
He'd
It'd
fight.
be a defence. It'd be a defence. If Warrington, let's say Lara wins. I hope he don't. But let's say Lara wins. Warrington fights Lara. Let's say Warrington wins, which I don't think he would. But let's say he does. Then yeah, numbers make sense for him v Lee Wood, doesn't it?
Well, how about if Wood loses, why Warrington and Lara get it on? Why wouldn't Wood go and fight Conlon in a rematch over in Belfast?
Yeah, well, that's an option. Yeah, that's an option.
It's bad time they got on the phone to me, doesn't it? Matchmaker.
Yeah, yeah, that
would work though, because the chips will be in the favour of Conlon because he's at home, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and there's also Wood's
there's
got
so many. There's so many fights out there for all of them.
Wood's got the bargaining
there's
power.
4 or 5 fights round robin there, isn't there? That there's so many possibilities.
Could have had a Super 6.
Yeah, absolutely. The other champions in the division are great as well. The WBO belt, is that still vacant?
Not sure.
No, someone won it the other week. They beat the fella from London, didn't they? I forget his name. He's the Cuban fella.
He's well known then.
Yeah, that clearly went under my radar, mate.
Yeah. I think it was on the same card as Shakur Stevenson.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I was asleep for the first few fights on that, mate, and then my alarm woke me up with a bit of a bang.
Right, we all done then, Andy. Is that it for this week?
Yeah, I think so, guys. Great show again. Take us out, Carl.
So thank you for all the comments on the side. Great to have all the interactive comments. Cheers to Sean, Daz, and thank you, Andy. Like, comment, subscribe. Last World Boxing Live every Thursday, 7 p.m. And don't forget that additional footage that will be done with Lee Wood, probably in a couple of weeks, where Andy gets in the ring and takes a few body shots. Take care, everybody.